We're live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. US President Trump expands exemptions from Canada and Mexico tariffs, second rollback in 2 days on imports from America's two biggest trade partners. Cyclone Alfred approaches Australia's east coast with strong winds and rains to make landfall on Saturday. Thousands ordered to evacuate. US-Ukraine talks will be held in Saudi Arabia next week to discuss peace plans. Zelensky expresses hope that talks will be meaningful. Pope Francis remains in stable condition, shares first audio message from the hospital. Thanks for those praying for him. Well, US-Ukraine talks will be held in Saudi Arabia next week. US President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff said that he is in discussions with Ukraine for a peace agreement framework to end hostilities with Russia, and that a meeting is planned next week with the Ukrainians in Saudi Arabia.
President Zelensky sent a letter to the president. I think the president thought that it was a really good, positive first step. And from that, we're now in discussions to coordinate a meeting with the Ukrainians in Riyadh or even potentially Jeddah. So the city's moving around a little bit, but it will be Saudi Arabia. And I think the idea is to get down a framework for a peace agreement and an initial ceasefire as well.
Well, Trump and Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky had acrimonious talks at the White House on February 28th. But since then, the two sides have resumed work on a revenue-sharing minerals deal. At a speech to a joint session of Congress on Tuesday, Trump said he had received his letter from Zelensky in which the Ukrainian leader said he was ready to come to the negotiating table as soon as possible. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said on Thursday that he would travel to Saudi Arabia on Monday for a meeting with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman ahead of talks later in the week with U.S. officials. Zelensky wrote on the Telegram messaging app that Ukraine is most interested in peace. Well, the British government has struck a deal with a defense tech company to allow Ukrainian armed forces to use more advanced drones in the Black Sea. In an undated handout video, Andrew Industries showcased the Altius 600 meters and 700 meter drones termed loitering munitions impacting and exploding military tanks. The UK Defence Ministry has announced a significant contract with Anduril UK to supply Ukraine with advanced drones. The contracts, totaling nearly $38.68 million will provide Ukraine with drones capable of monitoring an area and striking targets that enter it. This technology is expected to enhance Ukraine's defense capabilities. And U.S. President Donald Trump has signed orders significantly expanding the goods exempted from his new tariffs on Canada and Mexico. Trump has announced a one-month reprieve from 25% tariffs for goods covered under the U.S.-Mexico-Canada trade agreement. It is the second time in 2 days that Trump has rolled back his taxes on imports from America's two biggest trade partners. While Trump has postponed tariffs for some products until 2nd of April, Canada has indicated that its retaliatory tariffs will remain in place for now, though it delayed a second wave of levies. Trump made no mention of a reprieve for Canada, despite his Commerce Secretary saying a comparable exemption was likely.
I spoke to the President of Mexico, wonderful woman, today, and we helped them out with the problem they were having to do with the tariffs, short-term tariffs. And we had a very good conversation. Also, we discussed drugs and they've been working much harder lately. Do you notice that? On people coming in and drugs, and we've made tremendous progress on both.
Meanwhile, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum thanked her U.S. counterpart Donald Trump for the move, saying that Mexico would not be required to pay tariffs on any goods that fall under the United States-Mexico-Canada Agreement trade deal until April 2nd, when Trump has promised reciprocal tariffs for all countries. Sheinbaum said both countries would continue working together to stem the arrival of the opioid fentanyl from Mexico into the United States.
Prácticamente todo el comercio que te...
Many thanks to President Donald Trump. We had an excellent and respectful call in which we agreed that our work and collaboration have yielded unprecedented results while respecting our sovereignties. We will continue to work together, particularly on migration and security issues, which include reducing the illegal crossing of fentanyl into the U.S. as well as weapons into Mexico.
Llama él aranceles, le llamamos nosotros.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump confirmed on Thursday that the U.S. is having discussions with Hamas regarding Israeli and American hostages still being held. Trump's comments came after his Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff told reporters that direct U.S. discussions with Hamas militants were held in recent days.
We are having discussions with Hamas. We are helping Israel in those discussions because we're talking about Israeli hostages, and we're not doing anything in terms of Hamas. We're not giving cash. We're not giving $6 billion like you hear other administrations give. In fact, I got 59 hostages out, and we gave nothing. In 59, we gave nothing.
Well, the U.S. State Department says that Egypt's plan for Gaza does not meet the demands of President Donald Trump, whose envoy earlier saluted Cairo's efforts but said the details were being reviewed. Arab leaders adopted an Egyptian reconstruction plan for Gaza that would cost $53 billion and avoid displacing Palestinians from the enclave, in contrast to U.S. President Donald Trump's Middle East Riviera vision.
And this is what the world wants, not only in this conflict, but other conflicts. And no one wins. No one is winning here in this framework. And so, regarding the Arab solution, the Arab deal via Egypt, that what I have for you right now is that it does not meet the expectations.
Well, U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff said on Thursday that the message to the Palestinian militant group was that the United States wants to get hostages home. Witkoff also said the U.S. does not believe Hamas has been forthright. Witkoff said he will travel to the Middle East next week with stops planned in 4 countries.
We feel that Hamas has not been forthright with us, and it's time for them to be forthright with us. And Eden Alexander would be a very important show. And so we'll see how they're going to react. The president has issued a statement about what's acceptable to him and what's not. And hopefully we'll see some good conduct next week, and I'll be able to go in there and have discussions.
Also, President Donald Trump said he will probably extend a deadline for Chinese-owned social media platform TikTok to allow the popular app to keep operating in the United States.
Will you extend, if a TikTok deal is not made on the timeline you gave, will you extend that?
Probably, yeah.
You will? Okay.
I think, look, we have a lot of interest in TikTok. And China is going to play a role. And so hopefully China will approve of the deal. But they're going to play a role. But we have a lot of interest in TikTok.
How long will you extend it, and how close are you to a deal?
Well, we'll see. But if I need, right now we have at least another month. So we don't need an extension. But if I needed an extension, I'd probably get it extended.
Well, Pope Francis on Thursday sent his first audio message since being hospitalized for double pneumonia nearly 3 weeks ago, expressing thanks from the bottom of my heart to well-wishers around the world who have offered their support. People gathered to listen to the message and clapped in unison after listening to it. The brief 2-line message recorded by Francis from Rome's Gemelli Hospital was played during a nightly prayer service for the Pope in St. Peter's Square at the Vatican.
I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your prayers for my health from the Square St. Peter's. I accompany you from here May God bless you and the Virgin protect you. Thank you.
And moving on, Elon Musk's SpaceX lost contact with its Starship rocket in space on Thursday during its 8th test mission, dooming a satellite deployment demonstration in the company's 2nd consecutive Starship failure this year. Several videos on social media showed debris streaking through the dusk skies near South Florida and the Bahamas after Starship's breakup in space, which occurred after a SpaceX live stream of the mission showed it tumbling uncontrollably. The rocket system had lifted off at about 6:30 p.m. ET from SpaceX's sprawling Boca Chica, Texas rocket facilities with its super heavy first stage booster returning back to land as planned. This is the second time in a row that a test flight has dealt with a major issue in flight. The failure of a SpaceX Starship test flight has prompted numerous flight diversions around Turks and Caicos and ground stops at 4 Florida airports. And some news from around the world now. Mexico's National Commissioner of Natural Protected Areas said the monarch butterfly hibernation network area doubled to 1.79 hectares in the 2024-25 season, signaling positive signs for the species after significant population declines in recent decades. The species population has declined by over 85% since the 1990s, and as a result, the species was listed as endangered by the International Union for the Conservation of Nature in 2022. Crafts the Canine event kicks off its 2025 edition in Birmingham, highlighting terriers and hounds. Held over 4 days at the National Exhibition Centre since 1991. The show features various dog competitions and draws thousands of dog owners from across the world to showcase their pet skills and talents. Twin polar bear cubs born last year were publicly displayed for the first time at Nyíregyháza Animal Park in Hungary. Their mother, Szana, has been at the zoo since 2017 and arrived from a zoo in Moscow at the age of 3. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. Japan battles worst wildfire in decades, prompting more evacuations. India leads AI revolution, empowering startups and innovators for a self-reliant future. And ECB cuts interest rates for 6th time since June, signals potential for further easing amid slowing growth and inflation.
We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does, and
Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lupakshi Kunal. Moving on, some weather updates now. Australia is bracing for severe flooding as Cyclone Alfred nears with a rare storm on the country's eastern coast, expected to bring torrential rain, destructive winds and storm surges. The tropical cyclone is now forecast to make landfall early on Saturday. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said that 660 schools in southern Queensland and 280 schools in northern New South Wales were closed on Thursday as weather conditions worsened due to the cyclone. Officials shut airports, schools and public transport, and residents stockpiled supplies and sandbagged homes against floodwaters expected when the Category 2 storm hit. Alfred has been called by officials a very rare event for Brisbane, with the city last hit by a cyclone more than half a century ago in 1974. The city of around 2.7 million had near misses from cyclones in 1990 in 2019. And torrential rains caused floods that swept away cars in eastern Spain 4 months after deadly flash floods in Valencia killed more than 220 people. The authorities have issued orange alerts for some parts of country's Mediterranean coast as officials told people to stay indoors. Some areas witnessed 120 millimeters of rain in 12 hours. Emergency services work in flooded areas of La Algerora in Spain's southern Murcia region, where some roads and schools have been closed out of caution. Well, a fire broke out at Sansar Court Hill of the Palpa district of Lumbini province is yet to be doused. The fire could not be controlled due to excessive fog and continuous storm. Fires caused damage to 4 community forests spread over 170 hectares. The blaze has affected Lake Community Forest, Barakola Community Forest, Madhuban Community Forest and Brindavan Community Forest of the Urali. Nepal Army, armed police force and locals are working to douse the fire. A prolonged winter drought in central and eastern Nepal has caused an early start to the annual wildfire season, with multiple fires reported across the Himalayan nation, including around the Kathmandu Valley. Due to dry winters, forests have accumulated a lot of flammable dry undergrowth. Well, Japan is battling its largest wildfire in a decade, scorching vast areas and prompting urgent government action. The blaze, which has been raging for several days, has raised concerns about the growing impact of climate change. Paulomi Burman has filed this report.
Despite the continuous rain and snow for over 3 days, no respite for Japan's worst wildfire in decades. Firefighters struggle to contain the wildfires in the region. The fire that has been raging for over a week now in the northern city of Ofunato, a coastal region about 400 kilometers north of Tokyo. The blaze that killed one and forced nearly 4,000 to evacuate their homes engulfed around 3,000 hectares of land. It is said to be Japan's largest wildfire in about 50 years after the 1975 wildfire, which burned over 27 hectares of land in Japan's Kushiro district in Hokkaido. Experts think a prolonged dry spell and unreasonably high temperatures over the past 1 year led to this disaster. Rain and snow for continuous 3 days this week was seen as a hope to bring respite to those in the affected areas. But unfortunately, the flames are still raging and authorities are trying their best to douse the flames. Authorities and experts think that a longer dry spell in the last 1 year is the main cause of this disaster. According to the Ofunato municipal government, it has instructed more than 4,500 residents from over 1,900 households to evacuate from the area. Japanese evacuees worry as the fire continues to blaze.
とにかく帰れないからちょっと全然わからないです。
Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba designated the fire a disaster of extreme severity, which would boast central government subsidies for local recovery and reconstruction. Japan's Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba mentioned that the government will ensure a swift and appropriate response so that the disaster victims can feel at ease and the financial burden on the local government is also minimized. Thousands of firefighters and helicopters have been deployed and the evacuation process is underway. The focus is now on supporting those who are affected by the fire. However, this is a clear reminder of the threats posed by climate change. This is Paulomi Burman reporting from Tokyo for DD India.
And moving on, Prime Minister Narendra Modi to begin his two-day visit to Gujarat and the neighbouring Union Territory of Dadra and Nagar Haveli on Friday. During his visit, Prime Minister Modi to inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of several projects to boost infrastructure, economy and employment in the state and adjoining regions. Prime Minister will reach Silvassa in Dadra and Nagar Haveli on Friday and inaugurate the 450-bed Namo Hospital. From there, he'll go to Saili Stadium to inaugurate and lay foundation for 62 projects. Later, he will also the gathering. On Saturday, Prime Minister Modi will be in Navsari district to attend the Lakhpati Didi Sammelan at Vansi Borsi and disburse 450 crore rupees in financial assistance to more than 2.5 lakh women from over 25,000 self-help groups. Well, from creating models in different languages to setting up data labs and building applications across sectors, the India AI mission is picking up speed and scale. India is creating an inclusive and innovation-driven ecosystem with major emphasis on open data and affordable access.
India is at the forefront of an artificial intelligence revolution, shaping its future with innovation, accessibility and self-reliance. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, AI is no longer confined to big tech companies. It is now empowering students, startups and innovators across the country.
India's massive and diverse data set is driving groundbreaking technical advancements in AI, not just in India but globally.
AI infrastructure. With the Indian AI mission, the government has allocated 10,300 crore to build one of the world's most advanced AI compute infrastructures. A high-end common computing facility equipped with nearly 19,000 GPUs is making AI research more affordable and accessible. India is also developing its own GPUs, reducing dependence on imports and fostering homegrown innovation. Open data and AI excellence. Data is the foundation of AI and India is ensuring access through the India AI Dataset platform. This initiative provides high-quality, anonymized data sets, fueling AI solutions in agriculture, healthcare and governance. Additionally, AI centers of excellence in key sectors are driving research and application development. AI for India's languages. India is developing its own AI models, including large language models tailored for Indian languages. Digital India Bhashini is breaking language barriers, while Bharat Gen and Sarvam One are revolutionizing public services, content creation, and multilingual AI applications. AI-powered public services. AI is seamlessly integrating with digital public infrastructure, from managing crowds at Mahakumbh 2025 to streamlining financial services. India's AI-driven solutions are setting global benchmarks for efficiency and accessibility. Pragmatic AI regulation approach. India is investing in AI-driven safeguards, funding top universities and IITs to develop solutions for deepfakes, privacy risk and cybersecurity threat. The future of AI in India. With a strong talent pipeline, robust AI investments and a pragmatic regulatory approach, India is on track to becoming a global AI powerhouse. The future is digital and India is leading the way. With input from Tapush Bhattacharya, Tripti Party Support, TT India.
Well, the European Central Bank cut interest rates as expected on Thursday and kept the door ajar to more. Easing for the sixth time since June, the ECB lowered its deposit rate to 2.5% in a nod to slowing inflation and faltering growth, and said that rates were still restricting growth, even if less so than in the past. And as trade war with the United States is looming
by 25 basis points. In particular, the decision to lower the deposit facility rate, the rate through which we steer the monetary policy stance, is based on our updated assessment of the inflation outlook, the dynamics of underlying inflation, and the strength of monetary policy transmission.
Well, as trade war with the United States is looming, ECB President said threat of such tariff and its potential retaliations are putting a brake on investment, on consumption decisions, on employment, hiring and the rest of it.
We know that tariffs, and particularly if there is retaliation, are not good at all and are net negative on pretty much all accounts. But that's my personal view. Although I think we around the table of the Governing Council, we all agreed that it was net negative when it happens, and it's even negative before it happens, because the uncertainty that is generated and the undermined confidence that results from just the threat of those tariff increases and potential retaliations are putting a brake on investment, on consumption decisions, on employment, hiring, and all the rest of it.
And in sports, Brazil have recalled Santos forward Neymar for this month's World Cup qualifiers against Colombia and Argentina after more than a year. The 33-year-old sustained a knee injury in Brazil's World Cup qualifier against Uruguay in October 2023 and has struggled to secure a spot in the squad. Neymar has won 28 caps and a record 79 goals for his country, surpassing Pele's tally of 77. He was part of Brazil's gold medal winning squad at the 2016 Rio Olympic Games and also helped them finish runners-up to Argentina at the 2021 Copa America. All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. Well, we'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Vipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.